Strike again, to shatter with fear the hearts of all men. Oh, wow.
I wanted that.
Prometheus! Did you think my vengeance forgotten? That your act, misbegotten and exceedingly ambitious, would be lost on Mount Olympus? Do you not recall the destruction and danger, the thunder, the fearsome bolts of anger, which from this my very hand rained down upon the heads of men? A plague upon you for stealing fire! A plague on all men who embrace their desire! And by that beloved object shall know a fate most abject.
Come back.
Living in fear, bereft, without a shred of hope left. Did you think my vengeance was forgotten? That the passage of time would efface it somehow? Nothing is forgotten! Yeah!
Nothing is forgotten.
Nothing is
forgotten.
Nothing is forgotten.
My friends.
Nothing is
Do
forgotten.
you recall how we shaped the most beautiful maid of all, like an immortal goddess in face, fashioned with all conceivable grace? Yea, with our talents we designed a shameless nature, a curious mind, a singular spirit, strong and proud, became her well, the all-endowed Pandora. To wreak my vengeance, sharp and swift, I sent with you a poisoned gift, a vessel of inconceivable worth, filled with the evils of the earth. Your fate, to wed a mortal man, and by this, your lovely hand, to unleash destruction on the land, obedient to my command. That was my will. That was my vow. Yet, where are we now? Pandora, I have not forgotten.
Nothing is forgotten.
Nothing is forgotten.
Nothing is forgotten.
And full of wiles, with your seductive airs, your devious smiles. What? How? Where? Hello, Kiira.
What are you doing?
Nothing.
Oh, you weren't rhyming?
Rhyming? Moi, of course not.
Really?
Would I lie to you, my dear?
Would you? Well, what about the time you said you had no idea why Hercules was so strong when you knew he was your son?
Well,
What about the time you sent Hades to kidnap Persephone so I wouldn't realize she was one of your many conquests?
I did.
How I kept finding feathers in your hair even though you swore you weren't seeing Leda anymore.
Now, honey, we've talked about this many times.
No. Now, don't you now honey me. You're up to something, and if you're rhyming, it can mean it's no good.
Don't be ridiculous.
It's Pandora again, isn't it?
Nonsense.
The old one has passed on, and her successor has inherited the box of hope. Am I right?
How should I know if Pandora's alive or dead?
Oh, you think I don't know about your dalliance with the original Pandora's granddaughter? I can read you like a book. You hope to go back to the mortal world and seduce the latest in a long line of Pandoras, hoping she'll be, just so enamored that she'll hand the box of hope over to you.
Avatar and everything?
She's what, your great, 1,000 times great-granddaughter? You should be ashamed of yourself.
Now, sweetling, you know the portal from Mount Olympus to Earth has been lost for ages. I've been looking for it for 5 centuries. I mean, it's driving me crazy.
Oh, boo-hoo.
Yes, well, in any case, Pandora is the farthest thing from my mind. I don't care about her anymore. Perhaps that was the case before, and quite likely it was not. The past is long forgot.
Mm-hmm.
Aha!
Yep.
What?
So I friended her.
You rhymed. I knew it.
You
You only do that when there's a
Do we
new
really-
Pandora, and you're hatching a dastardly plot to get the box of hope out of her hands and into your own clutches.
Yes.
Look, my dear, that is a silly presumption. Now, look, my friends and I are having a meeting, and you very rudely interrupted.
Yes, Laura?
So, if you would...
Ah, yes, your friends, right. Mere shadows of their former selves. I see.
My friends and I, their power and might, like my own, remains undiminished.
Right. Whatever you have to tell yourself.
Be gone, woman! Enough of your chatter!
Oh, my dear, I fear you're as mad as a hatter.
Guys, how is a god supposed to think around here? Where was I? Right. Pandora. Well, we all know the story. I sent her down to Earth with a box full of evils, and I told her, don't open the box. But she, unable to resist, lifted the lid and released plagues, etc., all according to my plan. But what I didn't know was that crafty creature, that sly little minx, had played on us the most devious of tricks. Only later did we discover the theft, that she had stolen all hope before she left. What? Do you say the fault was mine? That I should have something divine? Oh, for Olympus' sake, you've gone and thrown me off my stride. How was I supposed to know that Pandora believed me when I sent her down to Earth with what I said was a gift
but after I
for
friended them, I answered them
mankind,
online, so I
and
can't
that
see
she
them in
thought
here.
that I'd accidentally forgotten to include hope, so she slipped it into the box and then trapped it in the box when she realized I'd actually sent her to Earth with a multitude of plagues and...
Can you move people away from me just a second?
Right.
There's the portal and it won't let me.
Right. You're right. You're all right.
Okay.
That's all in the past. I must look to the future and come up with a plan. Something new, something to get the box back here where it belongs. But what? I mean, I've tried everything. Fear, seduction, pain, torture, chocolate. And she has resisted it all. And this last Pandora, I mean, she was the worst of all, tough as... Wait a minute. The new Pandora is young, innocent, untried. I have a thought! A strong woman passes. The new one, perforce, learns the ways of power in due course. But for now, weak as a babe in arms, how will she resist an old lady's charms? Oh, hello. Hello, my dear. You don't know me, but I was a great friend of your grandmother's. Oh, God rest her soul. Do you need some help going through her things? Oh, no. You don't need to thank me. I'm just happy to help. Oh, well, if you insist, a little keepsake would be nice. Perhaps this little box to remember her by. Now, if I can just find that blasted portal and... Wait, what? What say you? Wait, the Temple of Artemis? Oh. But the Temple of Artemis, I've scoured it from top to bottom. There is no portal there, and... Wait, what? Oh. Did I look behind the throne? Did I look? Did I not? Again! All is forgot! Well, there is nothing for it. I will have to search again. I will return, my friend.
Let's all move just over here, you guys. Move a little bit away. Shall Princess please come over here?
My poor, deluded husband.
Come, stay here, guys.
Well, search and scour till your heart's content, for the portal has been in my power these past 500 years. Hephaestus, my son, thank you for creating the means for me to enter the mortal world through my ends and my ends alone. This part always makes me feel so silly. You do have a sense of humor, my son. From Mount Olympus to the mortal shore, I command you, appear, O portal door. One more. Now, let's have done with this Pandora business once and for all.
Okay, my gosh, you guys, you were awesome. Let's gather in a circle right here. Come and gather in a circle. So now, hi. What we're going to do is we are going to express the audience members online are all expressing a wish for humanity, and we are all also going to express a wish for humanity. It can be something like what Pandora received. We asked
Hello, everyone.
what was
Thank
the
you so much
superpower
for
that they most
watching that
wished that they
experiment
could
with
have,
us
and
while
the
we were
answer was
trying all
flying.
kinds of things. And
So
our
today,
actors are joining us from
we are going to give
across
that
the
gift
country,
to all of you,
and we are
and
all
you are going
coming
to
together
learn how
with
to fly
many
and explore
different video
Mount
feeds.
Olympus.
So far, we haven't broken, but
Come
that
with
may
me,
still
everybody.
happen today.
Chris, are they
so
ready?
something that's
Is
happening
Laura
in the
and-
virtual world right
are
now
they
that
ready
we
to
wanted
taught how to
to
fly,
do
Chris?
with you in the real world and in the digital world is to have you express your wish for humanity. And so for those of you that might be watching through social media, whether that is commenting with us on Twitter or commenting on Facebook, or for those of you who are just at home and might have tuned in and have a chance, or you're even coming to this later in time because this is a live event and maybe you've discovered this. And time, of course, is nonlinear. So this could be at any point. We would love for you to express your wish for humanity. That could be like one of the wishes and blessings that was given to Pandora in one of those themes, like wisdom or courage, or of course, hope. But if you have another one that you want to share, feel free to express that with us. And we thought this would be a nice moment to do that. And that's something that's happening simultaneously right now in the virtual world. The audience and the Greek chorus are getting together and they are expressing their wish for humanity. So we thought that we would try to bring these worlds together in this moment of hope. So just take a moment to reflect now and share that. And we thank you all for being here. And we're going to move into a Q&A. Our actors are coming down from Mount Olympus. They're taking off their virtual gear and turning back into their human selves. And they're going to join us in a Q&A in a bit. And we're going to start actually with our dear colleague, Kiira Spagnoli-Gabardi, who is joining us. She's a professor of phenomenology in Milan and a visual artist. And she's going to be joining us in just a moment for the Q&A. There's one other thing that I just wanted to thank you for, digital audience, for those of you that were so amazing to be a part of our first experiment in April as in this series with CultureHub. We asked you to express the superpower that you wanted, and you asked for the ability to fly. And so that is a wish that has now been granted in virtual reality for the virtual audience. So just in a moment now, all of those virtual audience members are going to be given this gift and learn how to fly in our world of Mount Olympus. So thank you so much for sharing that with us so we could give that to them. So that is your gift that you have sent into the virtual world. So now we're going to welcome Kiira Spagnoli-Gabardi to the stage, along with Mark Sternberg, my technical producer and tech lead on this production.
Hello. Hello to you both. Hello to the entire team. And congratulations for working miracles one after the next and for making dreams come true. So since Kiira mentioned the wish of flying, I would actually start right away with the two of you discussing how that came about from a technical perspective and also the creative point of view.
Creative point of view is pretty simple. I mean, I think regularly I champion the ability to fly in all virtual worlds. I mean, of course, it doesn't make sense for all narratives, but we're in a land of Greek mythology where people have magic powers. So of course they should fly. That fits our narrative really well. So, you know, hats off to the digital audience that wanted that superpower. And absolutely. And, you know, we've been very excited to be exploring this new release called Udon, which Mark can talk more about, that got implemented really quickly. And, you know, a shout out to the VR chat founders, Jesse and Graham, and our new colleague, Jason, over there. They have been incredibly helpful, and we are so excited to be able to implement flying in about 4 weeks. And that's also, you know, a major salute to Mark for pulling that off, because it's been a lot of development implementation to do that from where we were just in April, 4 weeks later, to where we are right now. So Mark, do you want to?
Yeah. So as Kiira mentioned, the release for VR chat added a lot more freedom to what you can do in their software. You know, a lot of the things that you see in the world right now are thanks to Udon specifically, especially the flying, which, you know, one of the users, Peptron1, provided for the community, and we just implemented it in this world. You know, it took a little bit of tweaking, but we got it there. And, you know, you can also see a lot of other great things that we're able to implement because so many people in the larger VR and programming community have provided them. You know, you see some great tilt brush art by Seraphin Huntley. That was implemented because, you know, tilt brush not only provided, you know, a great platform, but also the ability to bring it into Unity. It's a game engine some of you may have heard of that is sort of provides the basis for all of VR chat.
Okay, well, thank you for that insight. I must say your team is also very good in unveiling the themes of our era. Last time we saw Love Seat with the love dynamics of the contemporary world, and now Pandora is spot on. It's very serendipitous that it came out right now, that we're living obviously a similar situation with the pandemic. I was also very impressed with your initiative of encouraging people to send photos about themes such as wisdom, courage, love, and hope, and they were all related to nature. So, Kiira, how does that connect with the times we are living in terms of wanting to re-engage with the world outside, and also in seeing how our planet has benefited from us staying indoors?
We're in such an amazing time in history, and I think that we're all going to look back at this moment and remember our strengths as a human race, and hopefully the best of our abilities, and that we have discovered new things as a human race. There's something kind of regular to the work that I do with Alyssa Landry, our lead writer on this production, who will join us in the second part of this Q&A. Alyssa and I regularly, like to do these kinds of collective audience moments where people generate a piece of themselves and then we bring that into the work. So as we could see, we did these collective collages. It started with these word clouds in the first experiment. Now this has turned into something more tangible that Mark was actually able to 3D model and turn into something that we could bring into the virtual world. So we are, taking these kind of collective elements, and something that I see that I feel like is coming from the collective unconscious is this reconnection to nature. Everyone is taking these walks. People are getting very self-reflective and journaling. They're sharing these beautiful images of nature to their social media feeds or even in personal groups, things that really touch them. And I felt really touched by that. And I thought, if we're bestowing the greatest of gifts to Pandora, and therefore also to humanity, then what can we pull? And I thought, even though we're spending all of this time creating this new reality and performance in a virtual world, it would be beautiful to bring something from the natural world that we really cherish. So that felt like a special, something we could do as an offering to the gods.
Yeah, and it was definitely really fun incorporating things from the real world. We have the photos in there. We have some shadows that are sitting on the rocks near the front of the stage. So there's a lot of fun things from the real world that we were able to bring into the virtual.
And how were you inspired? And also, if you can tell us technically how you managed to create Mount Olympus in virtual reality and give this very spectacular and futuristic aspect to it.
Yeah, there's a lot of 3D modeling work that goes into this. We also did some tweaking on the 3D models of even the avatars themselves and almost made them completely new models, some of them. Using a bevy of programs, Photoshop, which most of you probably heard of, Blender, which is a 3D modeling program similar to Maya. And then, again, Tilt Brush, some of the stuff is just made in Tilt Brush, and then, all these things then go into Unity, which, the name says, it unifies with everything. So it's a great program to work in, and it gives you a lot of freedom, and it allows us to create great things like this, a world that is really supernatural and certainly awesome to look at and fly around in for extended periods of time.
Well, it's fantastic. And I was so fascinated by the use of shadows. And I have a question for Kiira in those regards, because it somehow evoked to me the allegory of the cave of Plato, where prisoners are chained to a cave and see nothing but shadows on the wall, and they start to believe that those shadows are the reality. And when one of the prisoners escapes and he goes back to tell his fellow prisoners that what they were seeing was actually a deception, was not the real world, they didn't believe him. They thought he was lying. So I was wondering, how does virtual reality and the worlds you create and the shadows somehow you create portray this idea of human perception related to the environment you're navigating in?
Yes, we are. We are playing with these different levels of reality and perception, like you're saying, and again, there's something kind of really magical, I think, about the human form and the human body, and how can we bring those pieces into a virtual world? So we're trying to mix the worlds in both directions and see where they meet. And there's something that we wanted to do on a theatrical stage that dealt with shadows, which we didn't get to do because we can't be in the theater in New York right now. So we took this concept, and that also came from a brainstorm session that we were having as a team. And I want to attribute some of that shadows concept to Chris Tapino, who's in the who's on our tech team and is teaching people how to fly in the virtual world right now. And that, this felt like another way that we could integrate them. So I thought, if we're bringing these elements of the natural world in through images, what if we do that with people's shadows? So actually the shadows and I don't know that the live stream audience has been able to see any of this, but certainly the virtual audience can, and they also have to pay attention to the detail. It's not in your face, it's kind of subtle, and they're, appearing on these rocks in the environment, kind of like you're saying, going back to the cave, perhaps, all the way back. We only go forward by remembering where we came from.
Well, thank you. I believe we can also expand the conversation with the rest of the team. So we can involve more shadows from this beautiful reality you have created.
Definitely.
So we will be joined by our actors, Jen and Jonathan, our writer, Alyssa, and I think we're saying goodbye to Mark, just for the time being. Thank you.
Yep.
Until the next time.
I'll see you guys in VR flying around.
Well, I guess we could just say to anyone who's watching, leave, if you have any technical questions for us, feel free to leave them in the comments, and we'll do our best to get back to those.
Absolutely, please do.
Sounds good. Bye, guys.
Bye, thank you.
See you later. See you in the virtual world.
Definitely.
And you're back. Wonderful, with all the creative team. Hello to you all. Hi. Kiira's still with us, of course.
Hi.
Hi, and I would like to jump in the writing right away with Alyssa, because this is the first time I saw a Greek chorus in VR. And I know you have an extensive experience in musical theatre that actually has acquired this narrative tool way back. But this, as I said, this was the first time I was seeing it in VR. So I wanted to know how it was for you to apply it to this new medium.
Well, it was very interesting because, of course, everyone has a little bit of difficulty hearing each other, and there's a little bit of a time lag depending on where everyone in the virtual audience is. So very quickly we had to let go of the idea that everyone was going to be speaking in rhythm together, and just created this murmur. And we just thought, if everybody just kind of whispers it and says it in whatever rhythm they want to, then we're still getting the message across of the Greek chorus. They're not reciting together, but we thought it would give something very interesting, especially since we're imagining that Mount Olympus is not really peopled with real satyrs and nymphs and gods and goddesses, but sort of shadows of their former selves. So we were imagining that this could be just something that they were whispering, and poor Zeus is hearing all kinds of stuff all around him. So we really had to let go of that musical, rhythmic, everybody speaking together idea and just go with something that would give atmosphere instead.
Well, it definitely did convey that atmosphere. I also would like to chat with our fantastic actors that I had the chance to see live in Venice. I had the chance to see here on Culture Hub again with Love Seat in April. And here you are again in a mythical setting. And I was fascinated by how you two always play together this romantic interest. As an Italian, I saw that you could be a duo like the Sofia Loren and Marcello Mastroianni of the VR. So I was wondering how the two of you are working on this different love dynamics through VR now that you're a team of performers.
Jen, do you want to jump on that one? Oh, I can't hear Jen. Well, I'll jump in really quick then. So Kiara's referencing to Love Seat, the show that Jen and I worked on this past summer with Double I at Venice Biennale, and that one, it's two people who are just meeting each other and do not meet cute. And so this, for me.
I'm sorry, I'm not over here.
We're having some
for
live
centuries, each other's thoughts
moments
before. They know each other inside and out. What's interesting, of course, about performing in VR is that the way that you read the other person is so much about their gesture and how they're moving, since you don't have the same sort of intricacy of face. And the avatars kind of give you so much of that sense in terms of how the other person's thinking.
Is Jen with us? No, I would like to about directing the act. Okay, wonderful.
I can hear I can't hear, but I can hear you. And I can hear.
Are you all hearing Jen?
No. Unfortunately, I'm not. So I would, in the meantime, I would like to know from our director's perspective how it is to direct actors in VR, and if you think, since you have a very extensive background also in live theater, stage theater, in cinema, if you think that actors nowadays should develop their acting skills and their craft through VR, if that's an additional thing that they should add to their CV.
That would be great. I think if we had more performers to be joining us in our virtual world, it would give more people for Jen and Jonathan to be playing with. And they are definitely ahead of the curve. They have gained a certain technical understanding that makes it really easy for them to work with. And of course, they're already very smart people, but they've been learning an additional skill set about how to teleport and how to fly and how to make those choices as their avatars with intention. And I think that that's something that's really special to see as a kind of evolution in their development as performers. And it would be great to see other performers try these things on. I mean, this might not be for everyone. I don't know that every performer wants to work in a virtual world and wants to, wear a motion capture suit. I mean, what we were doing in Venice was a low-fi version of motion capture, which they also got really accustomed to and understanding their gear and also, remembering their human body and kind of the balance between those things. But there's so much here that we're all learning and discovering together. And I mean, we were tweaking blocking, and there's so much further we can go. And, we just really got a number of things working to be able to present this so far. And, we just want to keep going further. And I think that Jonathan and Jen and, will be evolving even more as these VR actors. But yeah, I think it could be exciting to see other performers try and learn some of these skills. Jonathan, how do you feel as you are, maybe in your kind of evolution even, Kiara, as I pivot a question to Jonathan, like, I'm curious how you feel as you've developed from working on Loveseat to now.
Yeah, I think it's constantly. I'm constantly learning, and it does feel like I'm learning a new skill that's very related to performing on stage, and also to an extent performing on camera. And there are a lot of things that I learned in Loveseat that I'm able to apply in this show. And then because the show is different, there are a lot of new skills. Today I've discovered what audience interaction is like in a new way, because
Yes, we're having just like some technical improvisations, which makes it always exciting. And we're back. We also have Jen. So maybe Jen can tell us. Hello again. So maybe you can tell us about your craft as an actor and how it has evolved through virtual reality, and how you can consider it in the world of your colleagues.
Yeah, I think being that we're where we're at right now in the world where large gatherings aren't available to us, gathering in these giant yet crowded spaces is obviously something that we can do. And you had mentioned like would probably be a good idea if actors could be introduced and have the equipment and the aid of people like Kiira and her team to help us learn and understand this world, and Kiira and other VR artists help making live VR theater so we can actually have somewhere to work. We just aren't going to be able probably to join large spaces for a while, and like you said, it might be a good idea for actors to have the ability and the means to learn the VR space to be able to act in, just so we simply will be able to work. And it is a skill set that is very technical and very troubleshooting, and it's something I think for me at least, it takes a kind of patience and a curiosity to understand the technical elements and what people are trying to do. That is theater, that is film, that is just straight up computers on computers on computers, and what that layering does, and being able to have some type of understanding of how virtual reality works, so that we can then have a space to work and perform and eventually share with others, which is, for me, the whole point of performing.
Yes, definitely.
So it requires, people actors would have to, be able to have access to a headset and access to a team like Double I who can help us. But, we're at the very beginning here. So it's like I don't think that there's any sort of limits as to what we can do or we can learn and we can provide for other performers.
Well, definitely, it's very meaningful, and we are living in the future. We always think about these things as so far ahead, but these things are happening, as also the technical team has demonstrated by granting the wish of last month of seeing characters fly. And obviously, this wouldn't be possible without the work of you performers and the wonderful writing of people like Alyssa. And I wanted to know from Alyssa, how do you create characters that manage to weld the mythical with the contemporary? Because I was very impressed by Hera, who obviously represents the mythical image, but she also seems to be a very sassy wife, so someone relatable nowadays.
I was just assuming that the gods have always meddled with humankind. So I was just assuming, going on the idea that even though they weren't able to meddle anymore because of this portal that's been gone for so long, that they were still able to have some sort of window onto humanity, and that without even realizing it, their behavior and their patterns of speech would be influenced by current mortals. I think that Kiira and I are planning on having this take place actually about 10 or 20 years in the future. So we were trying to bring when Zeus is speaking in verse, that's sort of a throwback to his great grandiloquent way of speaking when he was an all-powerful Zeus. And then they fall into a more contemporary language because in spite of themselves, they have been influenced by humans throughout the centuries and the millennia that they have lived. So I wanted to give that mix. And also the fact that they are basically in quarantine, kind of the way we are, is they are driving each other a little bit crazy, and everyone else has disappeared. All the other gods have been forgotten by mortal man, except for Zeus and Hera. And they're just the two of them in that virtual Mount Olympus, kind of driving each other crazy. So that was sort of the concept of the scene, this first opening scene.
Well, it's very powerful, and I love the rhyme. I wish we could bring it back in today's world. Also, on a day-to-day basis, doing the groceries and just traveling again when we will be able to do that after we find a solution to this situation we're living in. And yes, as I was saying at the very beginning, all the topics from the Double I Studio seemed so timely, and this time experiencing this performance, I felt like Kiira was almost our Pandora, unveiling all the evils that have happened in this world, but giving us hope thanks to your collective efforts. And I wanted to know from you, Kiira, because I saw an evolution in your works through the years, how do you also intertwine the theme of gender politics? Because obviously here we see the husband and wife and Pandora, this sort of love triangle. And of course, I know it must resonate strongly with you, considering you're a female director navigating this new medium, and there aren't as many female directors in virtual reality. So how do you try to channel also this topic in a balanced and appropriate and not preachy way within your storytelling that obviously is universal and embraces other themes as well?
I think we're at such an interesting place in history where we are acknowledging that we have not had as many stories told by women and about women. And that's something also that felt really important to Alyssa and I, that we have a female protagonist who we haven't seen yet. We're keeping her a secret right now. But obviously, you know that the show will be very much about her, and she is a strong, complex woman. She's a smart woman. And, it's been interesting to be brainstorming about her. And as Alyssa's been digging through research and sharing all these tidbits, she'll come across these great little Greek moments, and we're sort of going through Zeus's conquest and just going oh my gosh, this is
luck with everyone.
So really what Hera has had to put up with over all these years, is really fascinating, and to get to see her kind of flex her muscles as a goddess, and the stories that she has lived through that are with us, that have been written down, that, all of these really fun stories of Hera. And of course, there are variations on these things that were told by different writers. And something that we've also learned is, Pandora really was given a jar. Maybe Alyssa wants to speak to that for a moment.
Yeah, that is one of the things that really fascinated us about Pandora, is that basically her story was rewritten by men. And at the beginning, she had this huge jar, and in the jar were all the good things that were meant to be given to mankind. She was sort of a mother goddess who accompanied souls when they died into the heavens, and she would send them with these jars full of all goods. And somehow in that first official writing down of her myth way back when, it was transformed into a jar of evils that she opened. And then even later on, it was transformed actually by a Christian priest during a sermon into a small box that she opened. And so all of a sudden it became this small portable object. and a woman brought all of the evils to the earth, when actually originally a woman brought all that was good to the earth. So that's one of the themes that we'd like to explore in this is what do you do when your story has been rewritten by other people? How do you take control of that story and bring it back to the essence of what you want your story to be? So we hope, which is our second theme, that we'll be able to make that clear and have people think about how can they take control of their stories? How can they build hope into their lives and create their own stories that they're living?
Yes, indeed. And I think you said something very important about how she was being accused, because there's always this human tendency of trying to fix the blame, which is the big theme of Pandora as well. And we're also experiencing it nowadays and trying to shame a population or someone specific to the horrors that we're living in. So I'm very grateful, I believe also on behalf of all the audience that has been following you, to bringing to us all of these very timely topics. And of course, thank you to CultureHub and La MaMa for hosting us and giving us a space in this forced digital lockdown. So thank you very much for the great conversation. It's always inspirational to chat with you. And I'll hand over to the CultureHub team.
Actually, I think they are handing it back, and they've asked me to close out. So, I'll close this conversation. Thank you, Kiira, for joining us all the way from Milan in Italy. And, again, our hearts from the US go out to all of you in Italy, and we're all going through this together. And we will keep building a new world. And maybe some of you will come fly with us. And we will be back at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. So for those of you on the West Coast who are maybe just waking up from a long brunch, you can join us. For those of you in Italy or Europe that might be night owls, you can join us really late. And for those of you in New York, hopefully we will catch you at the right time. And we look forward to seeing you all back here. And you can be catching this live stream on the Culture Hub Facebook page, on the Culture Hub Watch page, on the Double I Facebook page. I believe some people have mentioned there have been a couple of glitches. I've been getting some messages, and hopefully that will all be resolved, and we'll be back here ever stronger with new ideas and new innovations.
Okay. Ciao, guys.
Bye.
Ciao.
Bye.